Basically, yeah, like imagine walking into your favorite restaurant, like Firehouse Sub, scanning a QR code. Firehouse Sub has a landing page on our website. They come and with 3 clicks of a button, it's as simple as you click, you connect your Instagram, and you get a caption which reflects the brand narrative of the company, the hashtags, the mentions, and that's it. You promote, we verify it through our AI. So it's very scalable that way. And that's what helps us to tap into that nano influencer at scale, is the fact that we're able to verify AI, down to the fact is if you have that food in the photograph, we're actually able to really like go deep into that verification process. And you get a reward in your email.
Daniel, Yuri, welcome to the show. How are you guys?
Great.
So we know we're talking to innovation factory companies like yourself, going through this Lions Layer pitch competition. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what's going on at the Innovation Factory?
Yeah, of course. I'll start. Where do you want us to begin? Like our story, how we got there, or?
Yeah, can you just give a quick intro about what AdMass is? Right. You're a startup right now, and what is the problem you're solving, and what is your solution?
Right. So ultimately, what we're solving is we're helping customers. Customers aren't getting a really good ROI, especially smaller companies that are starting out. The customer acquisition cost is really high. Mm-hmm. So our solution to this is we help them turn their existing customers into brand advocates, so that every new customer that they acquire, they can acquire cheaper. For example, they can offer a discount on a repeat purchase. And at the same time, because it's driven by the whole word of mouth, because we help them actually become brand advocates on social media, it creates a better opportunity, and it drives a lot more purchase. It's interesting because we came up with the idea because we realized that nano influencer is a new trend. So we built this automation technology that basically allows us to tap into nano influencing at scale and turn every customer into a brand advocate.
Okay, I love this brand advocacy model because it's coming, like the influencer economy and the creator economy is creating a more of a dynamic social system online. People are becoming not just consumers of content, but producers, and they want to interact more with companies they like. So let's talk a little more about the problems and like how you came upon it as founders. What made you want to solve this problem?
Well, me and Daniel, we've known each other for a couple of years. We love hitting up restaurants. It was funny. It was you who told me about Firehouse Subs, wasn't it? You told me first, go to that place. Yeah.
Luxury sub place.
Right. So I went there with my dad, and I was like, oh my God, like people have to promote this on social media. And I was thinking, okay, like I'm not actually, Daniel has quite a bit of followers. He has like a couple thousand, and he's a little bit more Instagram savvy. I'm not so big on Instagram followers. Like I only have a couple hundred, but I would promote a company like Firehouse Subs on Instagram in exchange for, a discount on their sub, a free sub. And I started thinking, why isn't there a service that actually helps people do this? Like, of course, free product samples are actually 57% of influencer marketing, according to Influencer Marketing Hub in 2021, was done via free product samples or a discount on products. So the majority of influencer marketing is done through products. But usually when you see it, it's bigger influencers. So why can't everybody, no matter how many followers you have on social media, be that tool for word of mouth promotion? And we thought about it, and that's where we started coming up. And me and Daniel kind of went from there. Daniel is like a whiz. So he right away was able to quickly put together like a plan for our MVP. And we launched it last June. Pretty exciting.
Cool. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So I love how organically that built up from you liking this Firehouse Subs. I've had that. It's pretty good. They're great subs. And you're like, how can I promote this and facilitate that? So let's talk a little about that. Like, what was the current solution at the time? Like, there's no way for Firehouse Subs to track if you want to go out and like pretty much showcase them, like I have a partner program almost, right? So how will this work? Like Firehouse, like you would talk to Firehouse Subs and say, hey, do you want to launch a loyalty program? And through that, all people have to do is follow a link, and Firehouse Subs will like know who's sharing that link.
Yeah, I mean, just to clarify, they're not a customer yet.
Gotcha.
But basically, yeah, like imagine walking into your favorite restaurant, like Firehouse Sub, scanning a QR code. Firehouse Sub has a landing page on our website. They come and with 3 clicks of a button, it's as simple as you click, you connect your Instagram, and you get a caption which reflects the brand narrative of the company, the hashtags, the mentions, and that's it. You promote, we verify it through our AI. So it's very scalable that way. And that's what helps us to tap into that nano influencer at scale, is the fact that we're able to verify AI down to the fact is if you have that food in the photograph, we're actually able to really like go deep into that verification process. And you get a reward in your email.
That's pretty cool. So, as a customer, I'll go into, a restaurant that has this, scan the QR code, connect it to my Instagram account, just it's as an integration, I'm assuming, right? I'm just agreeing to.
Yeah.
Right? Yep. And then whatever picture I take afterwards and post, they'd be notified about?
Yeah, exactly.
That's okay. So I like how easy you're making this kind of sound. So what have the reactions been from brands and customers?
So far, pretty good. I mean, you've done a lot of surveying with Amy's mom and stuff. What did she say?
Yeah, like we had a lot of, I guess, iterations because the process used to be like so much longer. So you land on the page and you have field A, field B, next page, field like we had too many. Like for us, we're like we need all like it's awesome. But like once you actually give it to someone that's actually going to use it, they're like, oh. No, this has to change. So we kept going to person, and eventually we figured out like a nice flow that's very simple. So now it's only 3 steps. So someone can just land on the page, click on the button. It will automatically redirect them to Instagram. They authenticate. So they're an authenticated person. So someone can't lie about being someone else. And then they can enter their email. Next thing you know, they see the whole offer. They click redeem. Well, they see the offer first. They post it on Instagram. They click redeem. And right from there, we do all like the back end checks. And within minutes, they could receive that offer straight to their email. So that's the whole beauty of it. And we've been through iterations like left and right. And even still to this day, we're constantly getting feedback. And obviously we love getting feedback. So I think that's the worse the better, because then those are like the true people that everyone will say they love your product, but then they won't use it. So it's like the few people that say like this has to change and this has to change is like the gold mine, because I forget, someone said something like one bad review could mean like 100 people are having that same issue. So that was like that always stuck to my mind. So whenever someone's like, hey, this takes too long to load, or the way you're wording something is terrible, we know that there's other people having that same issue. And we've noticed that even though we've changed it and improved it, instantly our conversions went up. So that's like the beautiful piece. And we use like all the analytic tools and the heat maps. And also we know how everyone interacts with everything. And we know like what process customers drop off at. So then we focus on that area. So that's kind of, even to this day, we're still at the process. So there's never going to be a final piece, but it's always improvements to something better.
But yeah, I guess to answer your question a little bit more direct too, we recently had one of the customers say that we're better than the 4 other platforms that they've tried. And Daniel's girlfriend's mom actually tried our platform, and she absolutely loved it too. I forget her exact words, but yeah.
At first it was like, what is this? And then after we did all the changes, she used it again. And it's like, whoa, so I can get all these coupons and this and this. It's like, yeah. So it's simplifying the message and simplifying the flow, because we want everyone to use it. Not just like you have to be very techy or whatever. We want anyone to just pick up their phone. They see it in the restaurant and they like, without even thinking, it's like ABC and there's your reward.
So let's talk about like, the steps needed to build this thing out, right? Like you identify this problem, you want to do this, you're going out and saying, okay, we can probably get these customers. What did it take to build this kind of tool? Were you guys coding things already beforehand? Do you know how to do this?
Yeah. So I started programming, I'd say like 6 years ago, 7 years ago. So I started making off apps. So I was big in the App Store. I ranked in the App Store. And then I started making all these side businesses and side projects. So then I found a day job. So not only was I programming during the day, I was also making like projects at night, hopefully like making like the next like unicorn business, but I just kept programming day in and day out pretty much, and making apps on the side too for extra income. And then eventually, I guess Yuri joined in to the same company I was working at. And then like we instantly clicked, and we've just been working together. He approached me a few times about like making something. And then at first I was just so focused on like my own apps. I'm like, yeah, it'd be cool. But like at the same time, like I wanted my own thing. And then eventually as he showed it to me, kind of sold me on it. And that's where we are today. But yeah, we've been coding this pretty much day in and day out. So technically nothing has been outsourced. Like we've built the whole product from ground up. So all the development, all the server stuff, like we've built everything. So that's, I guess, the beautiful thing about it too, because I guess I'll give a little tip. A lot of founders are non-technical. They want to start a business. And let's say they want to change, like they want a new page or they want a new functionality. You need to now contact the development team, send a request in, then talk to their developers. The developers will implement the change. It'll come back to you. You review it. Something else is wrong. Then it's like a whole back and forth. So pretty much a change that we can do since we're developers can take us an hour or two, and it'll be done today, comparing to like, let's say a competitor that will take them a week because they have to go through this whole development company. So we can get stuff done so much faster. So that's kind of like the beautiful thing about, I guess, learning to code yourself.
Yeah.
So I guess anyone watching, if you want to build a business, I'd say learn. You don't have to be the most amazing coder, just enough to maybe do simple changes or get something off the ground, which in the long run, it will save you a lot of startup money, because to outsource a developer could be very, very pricey, which that money could go towards something else, maybe marketing.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And what I love here is the dynamic between a visionary founder and like a builder founder, right? That duo between the two, right? It's like someone who's like sees something and figures, hey, this is a problem that we can solve, and this is how we should do it. And then goes out and have to convince people to come and join or like take on this problem. And then the builder's like, yo, I can do this. I can actually build this out. And that dynamic duo kind of component, we see it in a lot of companies, and it's like the perfect kind of environment to be in. Because one person figures out, okay, how do we propel the company? How do we build the structure we need? And other person focuses on the product, right? It is trying to get this thing honed down. How do you two, determine, how do you get around things? Like Yuri, I'll ask you right from the beginning. It probably was pretty stressful, or it's always stressful for the visionary founder who can't build, right? If you don't know how to code and you're relying on somebody else, and you have this idea like, oh man, I really want to build this thing out, but I can't. How did you get in the mentality of, okay, how can I deploy on this?
Well, I mean, it was a journey, right? I started my first business. I was 17. I've always had a passion for business, but nothing really, small businesses, a few thousand here, a few there. Like I sold a YouTube channel, but then I wanted to have a tech startup. And first question is like, okay, great, I have this idea. How the heck do I do it? And thankfully, I met Daniel a couple of years ago. So right away, I'm thinking, okay, I don't know how to build it, but I know Daniel can. And I was already a developer. That's one of the reasons I started a development job, is because my goal was, okay, I want to learn development to build something. But really, that's not enough. Like, you can't just pick up development in the first year, like create like your best website that's actually functional. I tried that. And Daniel looked at my code and was like, okay, do you realize A, B, C, if somebody actually visits this, you're going to get hacked, all your money's stolen. I'm like, oh, that's exactly, but why we're making a good team here. I think that's also the dynamic, like you're mentioning, right? Is it completing each other? And not to sound too too touchy feeling, like we can fool each other. Honestly, that's how I feel. Yeah.
Yeah, me and my co-founder, we referred this as our second, what is it, marriage, right? Like, being founding partners. And, it's a strange dynamic you got to figure out. Like, I love watching like documentaries or reading biographies about like founding of companies, especially because like you see the dynamic between peoples, right? Especially in the beginning. Whereas like only a few minds, like the entire company exists in the minds of a few people driving it. Right, there's very little else elsewhere. You remove one person, and like a huge part of the company, the knowledge bank is gone, right? And seeing how like companies kind of figure out what next steps to take in the early stages, I think it's so fascinating because it's really like a will between two characters trying to figure out how to solve problems together, right? So as you scale as a company and you build forward, like how do you determine what problems to take on?
I think we're kind of separate. Like, I think that's one of the things, and tell me if I'm wrong. Like, I let you say what you think, Daniel, but I think honestly, we really click well together because like, there are days when we disagree, obviously, like some issues, but that's important too. If you're always agreeing together, that means you don't both have an opinion. And it's important to have your own opinion because many times, like you hear the other person's opinion, you're like, okay, yeah, you know what? I didn't think about that. At the same time, we kind of both stick to our specialties, if you will. Like 9 out of 9, not like more than 9 out of 9, 90% of the time, I'd say if Daniel says something development related, I pretty much always just agree. Sometimes I'll ask a question. I'm like, yeah, but what about this? And then he'll explain to me why. I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right. But then sometimes on the other side, if, like something vision related or something, something that I specialize a little bit more in, vice versa. Like it works both ways, right? So.
Daniel, what about you? Like being a technical side of the piece of things, like do you see the struggle in explaining technical side of things, like limitations, like oh, we can't build that yet, or it's going to take too long, or we should do it this way? Like, being a technical side of things, communicating that sometimes is one of the telltale signs of a good technical founder is communicating technical design. Yeah,
that's been in a way, it hasn't really been a struggle too much because Yuri is a developer himself too. So I guess he does know that like, hey, like X feature won't be done by tomorrow night when you still have stuff to finish off for today. But but there's still realistic goals. Like obviously we have goals that we want. Like we have plans that like, hey, next week let's get this done. We know it's going to be a struggle, but it's it's very tough in a way to give like a very hard timeline of stuff because you're building a startup too. While you're doing like another piece, maybe something else is broken. So you have to keep going back to like the main core app, like the production one that's already live on the server. And it's tough, but it's just something that you have to do. And at the same time, I guess we're building an app right now, which is nice because we have a bunch of students working with us. And I'm managing some of the students that are working on like the app piece with us. So we have to be controlling a bunch of like the development stuff, assigning tickets and giving them more of a range. So it's like, hey, you have this ticket done. I'll say like, it'll take you 2 days. And like, from experience, I just know how long a ticket should be. So that's like the nice part about talking to someone who already has experience in development and is already in that world because their expectations are more realistic compared to some clients that I've worked with that it's, hey, can you build me Google by next week? It's like, no. But yeah, that's pretty much, I think I'm butchering your question here.
No, not so much of a question, but more of your experience, right? Like, I think the good thing is that this dynamic has happened so many times and will happen again. Is people trying to figure out, what roles to take within a company, how to get things kickstarted, who does what, right? And it's one of the most interesting things is that we have all these tools now, these productivity tools to figure things out, but it's up to you to string up how you're going to use it. Develop characters within the company, right? Like set up we're going to do a stand up. this time every day. We're gonna do a workshop and internally do hackathon at this time of day, like setting the culture of how you solve problems, right? I think that's one of the interesting things with starting a company is not necessarily what you do, but how you do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
Scrum, agile development, and the dreaming bit. Daniel mentioned about setting unrealistic timelines, and sure, I'm a developer, but how many times I set unrealistic timelines? I do it like all the time. I think that's the dreamer part in me.
Yeah.
And I mean, I idolize Elon Musk in that way. He always says, right, do what you want to do in 10 years, say 6 months. You're not going to do it in 6 months, but at least, you're going to do it a lot quicker, right?
Yeah.
I'll often set very unrealistic expectations too. So.
And there's a lot of like unexpected stuff that like comes along the way too. So you could say that you want, let's say, a new, step added to one of your forms. But you could say like, hey, this might take me a day or two. But once you actually start digging in, it's like, hey, this will actually take me like about a week to do because they have to modify like 5 other things in the system and test it. And even from experience, it's not worth rushing something just to complete it, to push it out, which you're just going to be set, like you're setting yourself up for failure pretty much is what I'm trying to say. Because the minute someone in public touches it, it's broken. Once the site breaks for someone on the public side, they're not going to go back and, 2 hours later and try it again. And then tomorrow, they're not like the minute something breaks, sometimes they just leave. And that's kind of like the harsh reality, but it's better just to be fast. Doesn't have to be like, test it from every angle for a month, like 10 times tested, because it's a startup. You have to be pushing stuff over. But enough that it's tested, it doesn't break, push it out. And the minute you get a bug, like we're on this like ASAP. We get alerts to like our phones and emails. So if it's like a very severe bug that it's like, hey, the site's broken, like no one can actually visit like the profile page and everyone's trying to visit like we're on this like right now. Like this is like the first priority that comes. So that's kind of, I guess, management too. We're always checking like bugs. We're always checking like what's on our to-do list. Maybe if like we're trying to prepare for some type of meeting with some client, if there's anything like we have to fix up or anything that they could be interested in. So we're constantly kind of all over the place, but we have Jira tasks. So I don't know if you know about Jira, but
no, I don't.
It's like a whole board that you can assign tickets to people, and then you can have sprints and epics. So we have all these sprints that we kind of set up for ourselves, and then like the tasks that we have to complete within like each week, and then we kind of manage each other. And obviously, like sometimes if I need help, I'll ask Yuri, and like vice versa. But we're in it together, and it's been a fun journey.
Yeah, I mean, one of the struggles of building like a SaaS business is like the pressure to rapidly scale, right? Let's talk about that. Like, like after you have launched the first version, did you feel like a rapid urge to like go out and get a whole bunch of users, or did you want to field test this? Like, how did you go about into testing the market?
Yeah, I mean, we launched in June 2020, right? And the first thing was to get user feedback. The problem is we launched as a marketplace. Now we've changed our model a little bit because now it's more linear, right? Our clients, companies are turning their customers into brand advocates more so. So that's one of the ways that their customers become nano influencers. But the first 8 months, we had to get the supply. It was a pure marketplace kind of format. So we figured out a bunch of ways to reach out to influencers at scale. Within 8 months, we were able to build up a marketplace of 150,000 influencers. And that's where we were lucky. We got published in things like Hamilton Spectator, et cetera. And that's exactly what Daniel was saying, too. We had somebody on our chat, because we have a chat. And somebody's like, oh, hey, I saw you in Toronto Star, and they were experiencing a bug. We were lucky that person actually ended up coming back, spending money. But 9 out of 10 times, like, they don't come back. So, but we had to hit it, right? Once we had the supply, we had to hit the market. We had to get a lot of user feedback. And over that 8 months, we were consistently testing it with people, getting user feedback. Now we're lucky. We have some good testimonials. We have a nice group of companies that have tried our platform and we're really close with. So if something's wrong, and thanks to our accelerators too, we've gotten a lot of companies through our accelerators because we're part of the Forge, we're part of the Communitech, we're part of Innovation Factory. It helped us really reach companies that are giving us a lot of advice. And those are like the best clients. I mean, they're not necessarily going to, be the best kind of acquisition signal, like how you acquire customers, because it's through partnerships accelerators. So it's not necessarily that sales funnel determinator, but at the same time, there's like one of the best user feedbacks because they're so open. They're part of that community, the early startup. And yeah, we're consistently, as Daniel mentioned, like we're pushing changes on a daily basis. We're constantly still iterating. The list of updates we have to do is like this big, and it's just filling that pipeline with improvements.
Cool. I mean, I love this dev cycle you have going on. You're definitely seem like a technically driven team. Let's talk about the nuances of selling this, because especially restaurants are such a hard market to sell to because they have such low margins that they're very unlikely to adopt new ways and new processes because they're laggards. But the COVID has propelled them to radically change. There's completely new models. There's ghost kitchens now. There's like all these different, more pop-up shop kind of materials. Companies that are restaurants that completely exist on delivery tools, right, on like Uber Eats and DoorDash. With the rapid shift of everything going on, how has it affected you? Has it been a way for you to enter the market really quickly, or has it been a struggle? Like, how's that been?
I mean, sales related, it's all been a struggle. I'm not going to lie. Being a pandemic baby, it's tough.
Yeah.
As far as the restaurants, it was kind of a chicken, a pro and con with the restaurants, because from one perspective, for a while, restaurants were closed. There's no business. But now we notice they're so adapted to using QR codes.
Yeah. With
the COVID testing and the scanning of the menus. And it's almost like, look, you're already doing QR codes. Why don't you integrate us into your systems? And then we're able to create email lists for you. We're able to, create content for your company. We're able to do so much for you. That said, we were mostly the first 6 months, and we're still mostly focused on the e-commerce industry, because there is, restaurants are still struggling. That's the reality of it. And while our solution is there, e-commerce is booming, and that's kind of been primarily focus of ours. But even e-commerce is actually suffering a lot because of the supply chain issues right now. So, I mean, you're always affected by the circumstances, the world surrounding it, right? Like the economic factors. And I guess those are the pros and cons. But with e-commerce, it really jives well with the e-commerce because we can turn all their email lists into brand advocates. So it's something that they already collect. Every e-commerce company, you go on there, it's like, give us an email for X, Y, Z. Like they're always collecting these emails, whether it's during checkout or prior to. So why not leverage those, right? And ultimately, that's how we've been connecting it as a sales cycle. That's been the strategy that's working, because it's, again, turning something they already have, something they're already focused, into just an extra promotional opportunities. And they don't even have to spend anything up front other than a small fee for us, right? In a competitive side, it's about like a 60-1 to the regular influencer marketing. So it ends up being a lot more cost effective in that scenario. That's kind of the sales journey there.
Yeah. So I just want to skip back to that influencer marketplace you built out. 150,000 influencers. That's a large number. What does that look like? Like, how did you go out and accumulate all these people and start figuring out how to coordinate them?
Daniel built a search engine.
Okay.
It was a really, really good search engine. We kind of thought about how to do it, and then Daniel came up with this genius idea. We built a search engine, and where we were able to automate the email to those influencers, because the thing is, influencers are pretty active all over the web, and if you know where to look, you're able to collect all this data, and then from there just reach out and have them register. So I'll let you talk about that more, Daniel. Sorry, I kind of jumped in there. Oh, did you freeze?
I'm cutting out.
Yeah, Daniel, we're getting a low internet signal from you, but it's still recording locally. If you can still hear us, you can just continue.
I'm back. I just missed like your last like 3 sentences.
Oh, sorry. Basically, I was just talking about how you built a scrape the search engine, and you were finding all those influencers, and then how we were automating the email marketing through that.
Yeah. So we built that. Well, I guess I kind of built that. We accumulated like all these influencers, and then we pretty much segmented them based off. Most of the influencers that we have are from Canada and United States. So then from there, we were able to kind of segment based off categories. So we kind of put them in like what categories that they belong in. And then the beautiful thing is on our marketplace, we built all these filters. So when someone actually views the marketplace, they can search for these influencers for specific keywords, maybe, gender, whatever, like follower type, and there's a whole bunch of other fields. And then once you click search, we would filter out, and then you can actually contact that person directly on our website, and we'll email them directly. And then if they respond back, if they want to do a promotion, they'll reply back to you, and then you guys start talking.
I love that. So cool. So you built this marketplace, you got these influencers. Was the strategy to use them to like entice restaurants to sign up to your tool?
Find brands you like. Now it's easier, right? Because when you have a brand, then now we can invite them using kind of the invitation, right? Okay, look, there's a brand ABC that matches you. Yeah. So because we have like a really big database, and then from that, people are registering when we contact them via email. So now when we see that a brand registers and brand says, okay, I'm looking for ABC, we just match it up and we reach them out and we email them. So now there's a bit more leverage. But I mean, man, that's the biggest thing in marketplaces, right? We've talked to some investors and they're like, are you insane? Like, that's probably one of the hardest things to hear. Like, you're talking to these people, you're prepping this pitch for days, 20 iterations, boom, draft, you hit it. And they're looking at you like you're insane because you're trying to build a tech company that's a MarTech company, that's a marketplace. It's basically red flag, red flag, red flag. Like, so that's kind of why we switched to the linear model a little bit more, because that chicken and egg, nobody likes it.
I was going to say cherry on top is it's in a pandemic too.
Yeah, I was about to say, I mean, marketplaces are notoriously tough, dual-sided marketplaces. And I think it's smart to, stay away from marketplaces as much as you can. So, pursuing this linear model, I think might be more tuned. So let's talk about next steps. Like, what does the future look like, with this kind of solution? Where does the creator economy going? What does influencers got to do with that, right? Like, what do you guys see that's going to happen, like in the post-pandemic?
I'd like to think we're ahead of the trend. No, honestly, we do a lot of research, right? Like, we spend hours kind of looking at all kinds of statistics. I mean, Influencer Marketing Hub is a good one for that. And we see it as going towards nano. The progression has already been, it started with mega, originally was celebrities, then influencer hit. And that's been around for like a decade now. So it's been around for a while, even longer than that if you're talking about bloggers. Then, 2016, 2017, the micro hit really, really hard, right? Now the transition is towards the nano influencers. The other huge progression, and we see that, I mean, even Facebook and Instagram are dedicating $1 billion budget to content creating. There's a huge shift to content creating. Like, why is everybody saying content creator, TikTok, YouTube? They're all calling them creators. They're not calling them influencers, because it's about the authenticity. So UGC, user-generated content, is ultimately what drives the highest number of conversions, because nobody wants to see the same repeated ad all the time. That's one of the reasons there's ad blindness. When you're consistently exposed to the same thing all over and over, like, it might work on the radio because you start humming that song, but when you see it through a brand, like a banner, you just start ignoring it, right? Like 90% of banners are now ignored. Not even saying that 45% of people are using ad blockers, which is one of the reasons why social media companies are switching to creator marketing themselves too. That's really where we see the industry going. The nano way, UGC way it's a huge thing. I'd say to sum it up, it's kind of going towards that. So.
Yeah, I love this because like I absolutely agree. I love the fact that it goes down this chain. It kind of follows this like this law that technology does, right? It distributes what's available to the very few to the many, and these tools becoming available to the many. I think that's really interesting. So let's talk a little bit about the creator economy, and like you mentioned, influencer to creator. Like, what does that look like? Like, is this platform agnostic, or is it built on top of a platform? So, is it you're only a creator if you're on TikTok or like LinkedIn or like Instagram or these big platforms where everyone integrates, or do you see like small niche platforms? Discord channels. You becoming a creator in a Discord channel. What does that look like? What does it mean to be a creator?
Ultimately, creator is like creating, right? So are you just copy pasting information? Are you just posting it because you want to make some money? Or do you love creating and you align those goals with what you're doing? It's like people can work, right? And you can love your job. Like, I'm sure you probably love your job, right? Like, you look like you enjoy it. But some people go in day in, day out. They freaking hate their job, right? So that's kind of the difference, between an influencer or a content creator. Are you doing it for money, or are you doing it for your passion? Are you putting your soul into it? And that's really the main difference.
So someone told, not someone, it's on a podcast, but I always I've been at home so much to listen to podcasts that it feels like these are my friends now. But on a podcast I was listening, and I heard this great explanation is that about the creator economy is creating it's a new renaissance, right? Like art and artistic kind of creative abilities are now being monetized, right? You talk about the Renaissance, you talk about Italy back in the days, and it's like it was all funded from like trade and stuff. Now the new trade is like on the internet, right? So now I think the main reason why you're going from influencers to creators is that people are looking to I don't want to just create and put stuff on these social networks for free anymore, and then monetize through ad dollars and to these giant evaluations. How can I monetize? How can I build a system like Ready Player One, right? Like Ready Player One, if you guys are familiar with the movie or the book, it points to a world where everyone kind of makes money through the internet, but very dystopian because they're gambling on games and stuff. Like dumb games sometimes can influence how you're living and your monthly income. Where do you think after Ready Player One, and a lot of people recommend the book for me too. It kind of showcased imagine the days where you got to dance on TikTok for money. You know what I mean? That's a legit way. Just like you go get a job at McDonald's, your entry into the creator economy is you're doing dance as a teenager and getting an audience. I feel like we're we're slowly being shepherded to a new style of work, and. If someone from 10, 20 years ago came and saw this, they're like, what the hell's going on? Right? How are people being paid to talk or just play games on Twitch, do dances on TikTok? What's going on in this economy? But how does that inflate more and change? I'm really interested about this, right? I've talked to about a few companies who come on about this, and they're ready for Player One situation. What do you think? Are we heading toward a dystopian future where we're dependent on algorithms?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, we can see the TikTok blowing up, right?
Yeah.
YouTube Shorts is now blowing up, going really hard. Zuckerberg is constantly talking about the metaverse and what's going to happen there. I mean, VR is huge. Augmented reality is huge. We're definitely shifting to that creativity. Plus, I mean, robotics is so advanced now. So many jobs are being taken, through the automation. And ultimately, when jobs are taken, society shifts to create new jobs, right? Yeah. And I believe this is the natural order of things. Things are getting automated, so now the content creation is becoming so huge. I mean, you have those Boston Dynamics robots, which are kind of pretty creative, but are automated. But ultimately, yeah, I think that's the future. It's going to really, really change. Everything's going to be digitized. We already see that even e-commerce. Some of the biggest, Disney just closed their branches all over Canada, right? All their stores. And I mean, Disney is really popular. They have no problem with their money per se. Like Disney Plus is killing it. Like it's almost as big as Netflix. Yeah. But everything's just shifting online, like e-commerce shifting online, and the biggest companies in the world are shifting. So it's just happening at every touch point of a human's life, I think.
Absolutely.
It's crazy too, because right now it's like kind of the best time to be on social media. Because I remember I used to make YouTube videos back in high school, and I remember I'm like, I'm going to be the next, YouTuber, get 1 million subscribers. But back then, I guess you can think of it like you could think of it as two ways. It was easier because there was less competition, but at the same time, not many people were on like YouTube and stuff. Same as like Instagram, like there's not many people on Instagram. And I look at TikTok's just blowing up. And if you look at it now, it's like you have kids who are 10 years old. They post a few videos on TikTok and all of a sudden they have, 100,000, 200,000 followers. So it's like now is like the prime time if you really want to go out. Sure, there's competition, but at the same time, it's never been easier to get followers, get views, get whatever. You can go out and, find, like, for example, like TikTok. I remember I posted a few right when the boom kind of started, and it could be the stupidest video and it would get you like 1,000 views in like an hour. And like now it's a little less because I guess more people are on the platform. But at the same time, if your video gets shared and like the algorithm picks it up, you can easily, like, a video today, tomorrow could have like a few million views.
Yep.
And that's the craziest part about social media is everyone and like their grandma right now is using TikTok, and like every single person's on social media. So it's not like, 50% of brands aren't using it. Like everyone's online. If you have a product or something, the first thing you do is you go online, you check out reviews, you read reviews. So everything is just going to online and social media. So that's like, I guess, the beautiful thing. So if you guys have a business, whoever's listening, or you want to start a personal brand, like get on social media now, because it's like the prime time to be on social media.
I love that because like most people are feeling like it's past them. Like, oh, everyone's already has all the followers. Everyone's already created all the attention. Like, I got to fight against all of this. I think it's about also finding a platform, right? Like, there's so many different types of platforms. It's not just like, jumping on TikTok or Instagram. There's so many of these like niche things coming up, right? Like, one of the things I'm so envious of my younger cousins for is Twitch. Like one of my guys is 21 and he's getting paid. Like he's got enough subscribers. He's getting $400 a month to play a Call of Duty. I remember being 21 and being addicted to video games. No one's paying me. Like I'm like, why have I missed out on this? I mean, that's one of the coolest things now. It's like, if you can create content around even your obsessions, right? Even your time sinks, you can figure out a way to monetize a different type of lifestyle.
I remember like back then, like I was big on YouTube, and I remember people like were like, making this, like a big deal that I got 1 million subscribers. And now it's like, there's so many people with like 10 million, 20. I'm like, I don't even know who these people are. Yeah. It's like everyone's online. And I know, I'll tell a little story. I used to follow this guy called Christian Guzman. I don't know if you know about him. He was a fitness influencer. Well, he still is. Yeah. And I followed him from like the day he almost started his channel on YouTube. So he was just making like these podcast videos, vlogs. Eventually he started selling personal training, which was really cool. And he started getting money from that. But like, you didn't really know back then because it's like, oh, cool, he has a few thousand views. Next thing you know, he was selling T-shirts. And then after he pulls up one day on a YouTube video, he buys a new BMW M4. So I'm like, how did he just started YouTube. Next thing you know, he has a gym. He bought a warehouse and he put a gym. Now he made this company called Alpha Elite. And he's massive on Instagram, has, I think, like over 1 million followers. YouTube is blowing up. Instagram's blowing up. Like he's like one of the most well-known people in the industry. And right now he's building like this massive, it's called Alpha Land. So he's building this massive place in Texas, which he's still, if you look him up, it's kind of cool. But the crazy part is he started off from YouTube and YouTube built him pretty much everything from the ground up. And like he stuck with it, built out his Instagram, built out connections. And that's the crazy part that I guess what people don't understand is like, if you stick with YouTube or you pick a platform that you want to dominate in, Instagram or TikTok, you don't know like where you could be in a year from now. People just look at short-term goals and like, oh, I didn't get any views on the last 5 videos. Yeah, but these people have, 5,000 videos. So it's kind of thinking bigger and, really going at it, because you can really blow up on social media these days. And it's only going to get, as the years go on, it's just going to get more and more views and more people are going to be on social media.
Yeah, and so one of the things that we think about, being like a media company, delivering podcasts, is like, what is the next iteration of media? Like how social media changed media. Like there was TV, there was radio, there's different platforms, and then suddenly social media became a thing where everything was like shareable and bite-sized. What does the next iteration look like? Has anyone looked into that? Is there anything new coming up? Do you think it's VR? Is it Zuckerberg's metaverse? What is that?
AdMass. Everybody can make money, not just the influencers.
Yeah.
No, but honestly, like I do think that's the future because, again, I have little cousins too and little nephews, and they're all loving and they want to be an influencer, but the odds are still pretty small. And while some people, become the top influencers in the world, the odds of that are always going to be small. It's just how society is built. And we have over 4 billion people now, over 500 million people joined last year into social media. The majority of them don't have 1,000 followers. And that's why I think the emergence of platforms like AdMass, like that is the future. Everybody can make money. Everybody can promote. I think AR, VR is going to be absolutely huge. The whole metaverse is just going to push that one step further. So somehow this whole influencer and creator industry is going to shift into the metaverse. It's going to take time. I mean, just like everything, technology has to adapt. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, influencers, what is an influencer? Influencer is somebody who influences other people's decisions. Why does it have to be somebody who influences 1 million decisions? Why can't it be 100 decisions, right? So I think it's just all going to shift into other new technologies that emerge. And yeah, I mean, I'm excited for the metaverse. I know I keep talking about it. I'm actually excited to see where that's going to go.
Yeah. I think it's really cool because since Zuckerberg talked about the metaverse, it became like a different phenomenon. Like it became like a more of a regular word. Have you guys looked into this? What does this mean? What does the metaverse mean?
It's like, so it's not just Zuckerberg, right? It's, Microsoft is working. I don't know if you've seen that, what is it called? Do you remember what that's called? It's like the HoloLens or something. I think it's called, right? So medicine is shifting there. The army is already using it. Like, obviously the people have more money to invest in it, but now it's becoming more personalized. And at that point, it's going to just create a whole kind of universe that's combined. And hopefully these companies work together because a lot of them already work on augmented reality and virtual reality ads. So it could be you walk into, I imagine this world, right? You walk in, you have your shopping malls, you can try on whatever, clothes, shoes, whatever it is into that shopping mall. It's all virtual reality. Some of the biggest brands are, kind of in there, whatever, from Louis Vuitton to Walmart. And then, you have your gaming center, you go in there, you got, your PlayStation, you got your Microsoft Xbox, you got all of that. And then you go into, your networking, your social media rooms, and then you got your Facebook friends, you got your Instagram friends, right? It's going to take time to evolve. And it was going to take a lot of, the big players to work together on this instead of trying to create their own little mini universes and dominate everything. But I feel like it's going to be the next World Wide Web. Turn virtual, like virtual reality, right? So
same like AI and all that. My favorite thing is, I guess you've probably seen it already, but the Amazon's building it. You can just walk into a store, you grab your product, and you just run out.
Yep.
And it already charges your card, so it's you don't have to stand in line. You can just honestly just walk in, grab a water, and just walk right out. And how fast is that? Right now, I think the biggest change is speed. Even if you go to the store now, it's half of them is all self-checkout now because it's A, speed, B, it's, I don't know, B is
cheaper
B
for
but-
the company.
Yeah.
It's a lot cheaper to not have cashiers.
Yeah.
Like if I'd rather go to like by myself, if I have like 2 items, like I don't want to talk to anyone, for example, I'd rather just go scan my 2 items, scan my card, and I'm out. Like I'll be faster than like the cashier before you put the items on the belt and but that's like I guess that's like the future is AI, VR, and the world's really shifting to that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we're talking about that. Like, I've heard this term that's fixated on this. It's like we're seeing the rise of like the third platform, right? So not just Web 3.0, but the third platform. So the first platform was human to a machine, where it's like one to one, like one human dealing with one machine, and that's the interfacing, like the old mainframe computers and stuff. Second platform is the World Wide Web, is many machines interact with many humans. But it's a marketplace, right? Humans working with on top of the machine economy. And the third platform is machine to machine, where machines are going to talk to each other and make decisions on behalf of humans without their involvement necessarily. So, for instance, like it's like a machine that knows, paying attention to like all your emails and what's going on around you, all that kind of stuff, just making decisions, right? And I think that's going to be like really like a weird kind of phenomenon, because decisions are being automated away from you, and you're going to live more in this like algorithm, run by algorithms, right? Have you guys watched the Social Dilemma on Netflix?
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that's one of the things I think AdMass is working within that kind of thing, right? Like you're allowing people to integrate directly with brands in a digital kind of world. It's like, how can I share my experience, but also involve the brand in it and also involve the user? People want to be experiential now, right? They want to have experiences and share experiences with the brands they consume and spend money with. They don't necessarily want to just pay and walk away. So I love that dynamic that you guys add to that relationship.
Thanks, and that is kind of the goal. Everybody can do it, and leveraging that whole machine talk to machine with our AI, and kind of be ahead of the curve. And yeah,
it's like the creators are happy because they get a coupon code for their next coffee drink or whatever.
Yeah,
but the brands are happy because you just marketed to all their followers, but also we're using the AI that makes sure that they're getting that post, like it's like a true post. It's not like a fake post or anything. So brands are happy because it's everything's good to go, and creators are happy because now they just get 50% off their next drink.
Yep. Plus, people who see that stuff are happy because they get decisions taken away from them. Like people that they follow recommend this. Why not? Why don't I try that instead of just going to Google and trying to figure out, of the 50 things around me, what to get, right? Or like go on DoorDash trying to figure out what to get, right? If someone is recommending it that I'm following, I'm listening to their content, I'm engaging with their social profiles, it's like, oh, cool, I'll try that new thing, right?
That's even like. Even if you look online, like let's say nearest pizza near me, or my recent thing is chicken souvlaki. But like you type that in around you, you maybe have like the big brands, but I don't want the big brands because I'd rather go to like I like the more like local shops, but most of them aren't either on social media, which now you can't find them unless someone directly refers you. But at the same time if someone has one review and it's bad, now you don't want to go there. Or if someone has 5 good reviews, you're like, but it's only 5 reviews compared to someone who has 200. But if a friend directly refers you there, which is like what we're building at AdMass, you want to go there. If your friend says this place is amazing, like you have to try, the chances of you actually going to that place is like 100 times greater than like, you're just looking on Google and now you're judging the company based off like name or whatever. And like the one review that doesn't even make sense.
Yeah. One more thing that I think is also worth mentioning is how, it is a Lion's Lair component going to this pitch competition. Before our time's up here, can you talk a little bit more about that experience and how that's been?
It's been great. It's a good experience. I mean, the pitching, the networking opportunities, we've met such great people. And I think it really helps validate to our business. there has been there. I mean, some things have been a struggle. It's tough. Somebody, you work on your baby, your business for so long. You've iterated it. You've improved it. You think, okay, so many people have said good things, and then somebody comes along, rips it a new one, basically, and says everything that's wrong with it. But then, the challenge is there. You step back, you think about it, you hear that, and thanks to this line layer competition, we've been able to get so many mentors through the Innovation Factory, through the Forge, that are helping us, finesse our pitch. We've been able to really refine through that pitch, not just our pitching capability, but also our business model, our UVP, like everything, financials, like everything you can think of. And I mean, we're excited. It's going to be cool. It's actually next week, next Wednesday is the filming. So it's going to be, really interesting to see it. It's great being one of the finalists. I mean, it's a great honor. But one of the most valuable, heck, we hope we win that too. That would be cool. But ultimately, I think the most valuable experience was all the mentorship, the networking, the connections that we got. A few of those companies are actually now becoming our customers because they saw AdMass. They're like, okay, it's perfect for our startup too.
Yeah.
It's been absolutely a great. I mean, anybody who doesn't apply to it, I think, is missing out. Like, everybody should at least try to become a finalist in the Lines Layer, and then,
Really cool. I love how pitch competitions, does exactly talked about, stretch you out, test you, and help you validate your ideas better. Guys, this has been a really cool conversation. I loved, where we took it. Kind of spun it in a few different directions. But thanks so much for your time.
Thank you. Hope to see you again.
Absolutely. Come back in a few months. Tell us how you did and give us an update. Love to see how this thing performs both in the pitch competition and in the market. Other than that, just stick around. We'll do a quick debrief. But for everyone who stuck around, thank you for watching.